Welcome back, everybody. It's your girl, Saran, here to help you get that money right. So, peace, love, and light. It's Monday night. Let's get this money right. We are here with another empowering episode of Going from Chaos to Calm with your finances, where we discuss the secrets to unblocking your path to wealth. We're going to dig into the spiritual, the mental, and the reality of our finances so that we can have a greater life and a better well-being overall. So I'm here to show you some through the twists and turns and help you to navigate your way through that path. And today I have a very special guest, Bonnie Anderson, and we're going to get into it. But first, we have this week's what affirmation. This week's affirmation is, and I just wrote it down. My heart is open to receiving blessings. This week's affirmation is my heart is open to receiving blessings. And if you give me 1 second, I will put it in the chat for you. So hopefully you are ready this week and you've been logging your affirmations and you are doing them each week. And don't forget, for all of my ladies, please feel free to join our abundance community called Sister Sense, which is on Facebook, where we talk about all things money. And I'll put that link in the chat again for you. And as this week, just like all weeks, I'm going to start you off with a little story that I thought was really apropos to what we do with our finances to help us to kind of re-energize and recenter and get us back on the path to wealth. So this week, let me tell you, this story is really funny. And I saw it on, I think, TikTok or somewhere, but I thought about it from the financial perspective. So there was once this dog and he challenged a cheetah to a race to see who was the fastest. Now, everybody was surprised that, they got in the stalls, got ready to race. And when the gun went off, boom, outshot the dog. He's running. He went down to get there. He's boogieing to like win this race. But to everybody's surprise, the cheetah did not move an inch, right? Because at the end of the day, he just sat there. So afterwards, they're interviewing, talking to both of them, trying to figure out what's going on. The dog is hype. I won the race. I beat the cheetah. It doesn't matter if he didn't leave. I beat the cheetah. And when the cheetah was asked the question, he was like, They asked him, well, why didn't you move? He's like, sometimes trying to prove that you're the best is an insult. He's like, what am I wasting my time competing with someone with a dog and wasting my time to run against when I know that I can beat him and I can conserve my energy for what's most important? What I do is I hunt. And so I save my energy for what's important, which is the hunt to get to where I need to be. Well, here's 3 lessons we can learn from this little allegory, because we're all like, I'm not a cheetah and I'm not a dog. But sometimes we can get lost in our financial journey because we're comparing ourselves to someone else, or we're running someone else's race when we should be running ours and staying in place, or we're trying to keep up with this one and that one, or we're worried about what the folks back here are doing when you're already up here. So first thing that we can learn from this story is you got to know your worth. And you got to stay focused on your goals and your goals only. The cheetah said, I hunt. That's what I do. I'm not out here racing, trying to prove myself to anybody else, right? So be like the cheetah. Use your speed for what's important. If your thing is that you focused on, if your thing is that you speak, if your thing is art, if you sew, if you dance, if you sing, focus on your thing and stop going and trying to go into other people's lanes and wasting your energy because you're the best at something else. So tap into what your zone of genius is, tap into who you are and where you can be, right? And then prioritize your energies. The other thing is many of us are creative. I know me, like you, is a lot of things I can do and I'm good at them. But we have to prioritize those energies and those resources so we can get the maximum out of who we are and what we're trying to do. Because if we don't focus and maximize our focus by focusing on the thing that we know to get to the goal, then we can get distracted and we can be one of those people who are a jack of all trades and the master of none. So sometimes you have to focus on one thing to master it first before you can bring in the next thing and the next thing, but taking time to learn to focus. So prioritize. The third thing is confidence comes in knowing your strength. That cheetah knew his strengths. The dog was clueless. Right? He's just like, I'm just out here trying to prove myself to everybody. The cheetah was like, I already know what I'm good at. I don't gotta prove this to you, him, her, or them, right? And that's what we have to do. Sometimes we can get caught up in the workplace or in our businesses and the different things that we do, and maybe the office stuff that's going on. And this one's doing that, and that one's doing this. What's your strength? What are you there to do and deliver? Focus on that and don't spend our time thinking about all the other things that's happening around us. And that can really, really help us with our finances, because at the end of the day, if we're not trying to keep up with the Joneses and them, if we're not trying to keep up with everything we see on Instagram, every trip, every car, every this, every that, then we can have a more solid foundation in our own selves and in our own finances, so that we aren't going, we don't have 8 legs going all different places. We should be focused on one thing. So feel free to focus on that. Take this quote with you for the rest of the week. Don't waste your energy proving yourself to others. Investing, building the life you deserve. Because if you work on building the life you deserve instead of proving yourselves to others, you can have more impact and a greater life, because you can be more centered in who you are, whose you are, and where you're going, because you're not out here trying to prove yourself to everybody that's out here on the block. Anyway, that's my story for the week. Hopefully you like it. Drop something in the chat if you got something from it. Send me a DM, join the group, all those things. But today we're going to talk about a topic that's interesting to many of us, especially if you have Asian parents, or maybe even this could be you too. You could be at that point where you need to have this type of information. But I have an amazing, transformative speaker, wealth creator, woman on the move. She is based in Atlanta, Georgia. She hails from Tampa. Her name is Bonnie Anderson, and she is the CEO. Hold on, let me read her bio so I don't leave nothing out. And she is the CEO of Financial Legacy Solutions, where she empowers women over 50 to achieve financial security through her personalized strategies and workshops. She has over 20 years in higher education. I mean, she teaches your bad kids when they go to college, right? But she specializes in simplifying complex financial concepts, including healthcare, Medicare, T65, debt management, asset protection, and retirement building. And she has not one, but 2 master's degree, one in MBA in marketing and one in MS in higher education. She is also super fun. She loves coffee shops, traveling, outdoor activities, and and her big mission is to help women live a fabulous, worry-free life through faith, fun, style, and fitness, especially for our women who are retirement age. So let me bring on the stage the Bonnie Anderson. Go ahead and bring your voice into the room and introduce yourself.
Well, hello, Saran. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be with you tonight and your audience, speaking to them. Saran and I go back along a few years now. We became quick and fast friends, and we are connected on these things that help women mainly in the financial space. So that's kind of where we're tied together, working together, both on a mission to transform and to help you all bring calm to your chaos, because that's definitely where I was at. So, so it's, again, super excited to be here and to speak with you all this evening.
So I'm excited to have you because this is a topic that I don't often get into. While I should get into it, but I don't get into it. But I feel like, we were talking a little bit earlier when we were off camera. I feel like this is also something that a lot of the women who come and they see me live, they need to know, because our generation is the sandwich generation. We're still taking care of our kids, or our kids are going off to college, and you were an adjunct professor too, so you know how they are when they get to college. So they still call them mom and daddy them for everything, right? But then we're also in a place where we're taking care of our parents. Right. And we need to understand. So we have 3 worlds we have to understand at this juncture. We have to understand us, what we got to deal with for ourselves. We got to understand what's going on with maybe our college age kids. And then we have to understand, what's going on with our aging parents, right? And so that's why I thought it was a good idea for us to talk today and get into something that, is not often talked about at this rate in a public forum, because people are really like, oh, they just think it's simple. Some people still probably confuse Medicare with Medicaid, which they are not the same, right?
No,
At
not at
all,
all.
right? But they shouldn't have named them both things that start with an M.
Let me be at that, right?
Right? Let's make it simple for us, right? Use a different letter or
Use a
something,
different letter.
right? But tell me a little bit about, one of the things I know gets confusing is like, when can somebody enroll in Medicare, and what happens if I missed the deadline, and how do I enroll? Because that's something I can do on my own, or do I have to connect with a person, or like that kind of thing is probably one of the questions to kind of start, especially for those who have parents who are just maybe turning 65, or their parents are 70, 75, and they kind of did all the stuff themselves in the beginning, but now as the caregiver or the power of attorney, now I, as the adult, have to take care of my parents' information.
Oh, wow, you've asked a lot of questions. Okay, so let's break it down. So first, we all are eligible for Medicare at 65. And so that eligibility period starts 6 months. I'm sorry, it starts 3 months before you turn 65, and then 3 months after your 65th birthday. So you have that window in which you can sign up for Medicare. So you can sign up. It's best to sign up with an agent, because you want to make sure that you're picking the right plan for yourself. And there's a couple of options that you have. And so you want to make sure that you select the right option for you. So there is what we call original Medicare, and that is Part A. And most of us, you don't have to pay for that. That's something that you've earned as you've been working these past 10 years and paying that Medicare tax. So you get Part A free. And what Part A covers, it's going to cover your hospital, anything inpatient. It's going to cover hospice care, when someone needs that. And then there's Part B. Now, Part B, all of us will have to pay for, and most of us pay the base fee. But if you're a high income earner, you will pay more. And currently, the Part B cost is $174 per month. And so if you're getting Social Security, it will come out of your check. And if not, Uncle Sam will politely send you a little bill. And what Part B covers, it covers all of your outpatient stuff. So it's going to cover, your primary care doctor visits, your specialists, any vaccines, any labs, and things like that. So that's Part B. So you have Part A and you have Part B. That's original Medicare. And then they have what we call Part C, which is an Advantage plan. And so Advantage plans are run by private services like Aetna, Humana. They're run by companies like that who manage these services. And so you get more perks when you go with Advantage Plan Part C. So they throw in stuff like dental, vision, hearing, all kinds of perks that you get. So you just want to talk to someone. There's a few more things that you have to be aware of too. There's, drugs. There's a drug plan as well that comes with that. And you have to decide if you want to get original Medicare, you have to add on a drug plan. And if you get Medicare Advantage Part C, it's like a combo meal. So
Okay.
it is Part A, B, and D. So you get your hospitalization, your doctor visits, and your drug plan in C. So that's a little bit. I don't want to overwhelm the audience, but that's a little overview of it. But again, it's best to talk to a professional, because it's a big decision that you have to make, and you want to make sure you're making the best option and choices for you.
Well, it sounds a little overwhelming, right? With all the letters and all that. And so I
It
think
is
that for many who are in that place where either they're making the decision or they're making the decision for their parents, it's
correct.
kind of like that's a lot of letters. Because
That's
it's not as simple as when say we're at work and we're choosing our plan
yes,
through our group plan, but essentially it requires just as much attention as looking at the group plan to make sure you get what you need. So because what I'm hearing you say is kind of make sure what I know what my medical needs are. So if I
correct.
know I have certain pre-existing conditions, or
Mhm.
if I know that I need certain access to different things, to make sure to, if you're working with a professional, which you should, I think that everyone should work with a professional when they're making these kind of decisions. If you're working with a professional that's licensed in your state, to make sure you kind of let them know some of the things you have going on, to help them to get you into the right plan to make sure you're getting what you need. So you kind of answered a bunch of more questions that I had, but
Yeah.
what do you feel like are like some of the misconceptions about Medicare?
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions about Medicare. One of them is that a lot of people, like you said, get them confused with Medicaid. And so I used to get them confused myself until I started learning, right?
Right.
So Medicare is your health, and Medicaid is based upon your income. It's usually for people who are lower income or have some type of disability, and they don't make enough, so they get Medicaid. But there are some people that can get both, right? So
Mhm.
you get Medicare and Medicaid, and if you get that, then the government kind of helps you out quite a bit with your medical expenses. Your costs are very, very minimal. So if it's not to be lucky, but because that means that you maybe your income is a little bit lower. So, but you do get a lot of help from the government in that case. And also, you have to be careful when you sign up. So, if you're, like you said, if you're leaving your employer, there's a misconception that you think that you may not be able to sign up. And if you continue to work, you can stay on that group plan when you turn 65. But there, is a time when you're going to retire. So you have to coordinate that because you have to have coverage or you will get penalized. So it is something that you have to take. There's no way you can opt out of it, unfortunately. So you either have to have group coverage insurance or you have to have a Medicare plan of some sort. So you just want to be sure of that because you will be penalized and you will have to pay a penalty. So
Wait. So I have two more questions. So one is, you said that they would have to coordinate the Medicare and the Medicaid. So do you mean me as the recipient, I would need to coordinate, or do I need to just make sure when I go to my medical provider to let them know that I have Medicare and maybe a private group plan? And then they submit it that way and it kind of coordinates in the back end? Or do I have to like be the person that knows this medical jargon and medical billing information to do the coordination?
well, to clarify, you have to coordinate when you're coming off. So when we get ready to retire, that's when we want to coordinate because we're coming off our group employer
Okay.
covered insurance. And so we're coming onto Medicare. Like I'm working with someone now and she's going to continue to work, right? But so she can either elect to stay on her group covered plan or she's at 65 now and it's her birthday coming up. She's turning 65, or she can go on Medicare. But so what we're looking at is what are the costs? Is it more cost effective for her to stay on her group plan? Or is it more effective for her, cost effective for her to come over to Medicare? So we have to
Mm.
look at those co-pays, any out of pockets, her deductibles, what's the max out of pocket she has to pay on her group plan, and what it is for Medicare. So there's a lot of variables that you want to consider. So there's a lot of
Okay.
variables. Yeah. So
And then I wanted to circle back also, you mentioned penalties.
yes, penalties.
So I would get a penalty if I turn 65 and what? If I turn 65 and I don't have my group coverage from a job and I don't sign up for Medicare, there's a penalty. And when would the penalty be due? Is it like a tax penalty? How does that work?
Yeah, there is a penalty that you have to pay. It is a penalty that will be applied to you. It'll be applied to you every month. So they look at when you lost that coverage or when you didn't have coverage, and they penalize you for every month after that. So when you sign up, you always have to pay that penalty for those months that you didn't have any, what they call creditable coverage, right? Okay. So that's why it's important. That's why it's important. So like I said, to talk to a professional and, just weigh your options. If you're, looking at it for your parents, your grandparents, any loved one that you're helping with, we work with those people as well. Because they're having to help make these decisions for you and with you. So yeah, just talk.
So before the penalty, so when can you tell me again, when can I sign up? Before my 65th, 6 months before my 65th birthday or after?
I said 6 months, but the entire window of 6 months is actually 3 months. So whenever your birthday month is, so my birthday month is in June. So I have 3 months prior to my birthday in June to sign up, right?
Okay.
So whatever month that is, what is that? March, April, May, June. Yep. And then I have 3 months after my birthday. So it's like an entire 6 month period that you have to select your plan. And so whenever you select your plan, that's when it becomes effective. That's when it starts.
Oh, okay. So it's not a rolling
after your birthday.
3 months before, 3 months after. So that is total 6 months. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, total 6 months. Because like we're saying, it's going to, take you some time to kind of, figure out what's going to be best for you. So yeah, you get 6 months, and then annually, we may talk about this later. Then annually, you want to review your plan, which is called open enrollment. And so we're coming up on that in October. That's like our employer group plan. You know how we have open enrollment?
Yeah.
So Medicare has an open enrollment too. It's about 6 weeks. And so everybody gets to, if you want to change your plan, you can. And we suggest that you talk to, again, a professional, because plans change. Like we say, how the cable companies, they'll throw in some extras, or they'll take away stuff, or maybe, have some little bonuses, reduce the price here and reduce the price there, or maybe they may up the price.
Right. And you don't want to miss out on any bonuses.
You don't want to miss
any things that are going to benefit you in the long run. Because you know what, I often say this, and it's funny that we're talking about this. I feel like the most complicated time in our lives we're after we retire, when maybe we're not as cognitively sharp as we were before in our younger years. Things can take a little bit longer for us to figure them out. And this is no indictment of growing old. Guess what? If we're all blessed enough, we'll be lucky enough to see 70 or 80 or even 90, right? If we're blessed, right? Because everybody doesn't get there. But when you get there, it's like they make it so hard for you to figure stuff out.
Yes, they do.
So it's kind of like, why didn't you teach me about this when I was in
I
was 25, when I was 40, and teach me about it every year or every couple years so I can have some understanding of it? Because if you layer this with, our seniors also trying to understand all the rules that come along with Social Security.
Oh God.
And then all the rules that come along with all the things that they have to do as far as their other assets and things like that, it can be a bit overwhelming. Because we deal with people in their 40s and 50s all the time, or even their 30s, and they're overwhelmed. So could you imagine when things just aren't coming to you as fast as they used to?
Tell me about it. Yeah. So it can be very, very complicated. Like I said, that's why I always shied away from it. And then my mother got sick, and she was on it, and I had no clue what was going on. All these bills were coming in, all these things were coming. The hospital's telling you this and that, and what's covered and what's not. And you're like, what? I don't know, because you never had to deal with it until, like we said, until your loved one or your grandmother, your mother, your father, someone has to, go in skilled nursing care and they're, past 65 or long-term stay in a hospital. You want to know what's covered, what's not, what you can expect, because you can be hit with some bills. And so you want to be prepared for that. And you want to kind of understand what's going to happen, and what they're eligible for, what is supposed to be covered. And
Yeah.
if there's any issues, then you need to know how to advocate for them. So,
and I think one of the things that's important too, and you may or may not be able to touch on this, is I know a few years ago I had learned from my sister, believe it or not, because she worked for a senior living facility, and she was telling me that, there's a certain amount of time that they'll look back if you need like full government care. And if your assets hadn't been in trust at least 7, depending on the state, everything is state based. But if your assets hadn't been in trust or certain things by between 5 and 7 years, then it's like a spend down period. You have to spend that stuff down to like $2,500. I think it's in my state in Maryland. I think it's $2,500. Like if you have assets, you can't have assets and get assistance. And so that was one of the things that prompted me to at least find out a little something at my current age to make sure that I was, covered, and not caught. Because once you get there, right? And I have at least one other friend who he shared some things that he had to deal with his parents, and it's tough when you get there because there's no way out of it, because the time is what is the determining factor.
Yeah, yep. You're absolutely right. There are some rules and regulations regarding assets and things that the amount of money you can have and so forth. So so you definitely want to, like I said, so even a few years before you turn 65, you want to consult someone that is knowledgeable in Social Security and Medicare, because you are absolutely right. That will and can affect your benefits. So yeah. Our good old Uncle Sam is always trying to,
Right. And I love the fact that it's like, yeah, well, we're not going to do anything for you because you have assets. And you're like, I worked my whole life to get these assets, and now I can't have any. And even though I paid the Medicare tax the whole time I was working, now I can't have assets to get access to things I already paid for. Whole nother argument, whole nother story. So, what do you think are some things that we can do, or that we can do to help minimize any out-of-pocket costs, right? Because even with our regular work plans, just depending on where you work and what you do, there's some out-of-pocket costs. Some people have the high deductible medical insurance at their jobs, where they have to have the HSA, the health spending account. And then some people, like me, I just pay a little copay, do whatever I need to do. I pay like $20. I just go on about it. I could pay $20 every time I want to just show up.
I know, right?
Like, how do you minimize your out-of-pocket costs when you're a Medicare, when Medicare is your benefit provider?
Well, I would say we have to again look at what is going to be best for you when we're talking about having original Medicare, or you can get Medicare, what's called a Medicare Advantage plan. So you have to look at those things to determine, with original Medicare, you will, let's talk about Medicare Advantage. So Medicare Advantage, like I said, is like that combo plan. It's going to be your Part A, your Part B, and your Part D. So it just kind of depends on if you go to the doctor more, then you want to get something that's going to make sure that your out of pocket is reduced and it's minimal. If you wear glasses like we do, right? If you may need hearing, if you go to the dentist, you want to think about a Part C, which again is the Medicare Advantage, because it's a combo plan and it's going to include everything. And they both have, Medicare Advantage has HMO and PPO. So you want to kind of think about that. Or, you're looking at that traditional in-network kind of thing. So that's going to minimize your cost as well, right? You have to stay in network. Now, if you go with original Medicare, that is where you could pay more out of pocket initially. But there is a way to add what we call a supplement plan to it, which will kind of cover those out-of-pocket expenses for you once you get to a certain point. And that'll kind of help you with those expenses. So it just, again, depends on your situation, your circumstances. If you want to mitigate your cost at all expense, like someone said, I'm risk averse. I don't want to, I don't want to take any risk. Then you may want to look at something that's going to, reduce those risks. And that would be the original Medicare with a Medigap plan. But again, it costs more too. So that's the thing with that. It will cost you more than an Advantage plan. So, like I said, everybody's situation is different, and it just would depend on your budget, your lifestyle, what your needs are.
So would a health spending account or HSA benefit me if I have Medicare? So let's say I'm 35 now. I'm 35 now, and I decide to get an HSA account to start funding one, putting money aside in that. Would I be able to benefit from that when I become Medicare eligible in 30 more years?
You're saying, would you be able to have one at the same time?
Would I be able to use that in, like, if I started contributing now to HSA, would that be something that I could keep and have over time? So then in 30 years, when I do need Medicare, I still have the money in my HSA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you probably could do that. Yeah. You would build up, you're saying, to have that built up. Yeah.
To pay those gaps, because you're saying I gotta still pay money, right? Because I think another misconception is, I could be wrong, is that I don't have to pay anything once I go on Medicare. There's no cost.
Right. That is a misconception. So yeah, with the original Medicare, there are some things, I don't want to go into detail here, but you could have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses with original Medicare. They have no ceiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you add on an additional, like a supplement plan, we call it a Medigap plan, that helps that. It pays, those other out-of-pocket expenses. And so with the other plan, the Medicare Advantage plan, that one has a ceiling. It has a maximum, so you can't go past a certain amount. So it helps in that way. So like I said, they both have their plus and their minuses.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I think it's important for us to get this kind of education earlier, again, because we got to make big decisions when we are much older. It's kind of like as soon as you get to college, you're 18, and the first thing they do is shove a student loan application in your face, and you're trying to figure out how to stay in the dorm. Sign for this $25,000.
No.
$25,000 because all you got is the stuff you brought with you to campus.
Yeah, look, and they promise you're gonna get a refund, so you're like, sign me up, sign me up.
And then you get a refund and go do something crazy. So it's like when we're super young, they get us in debt really fast with student loans. And then when we're older, they try to confuse the heck out of us with Medicare, Social Security. But in the middle, they make us work like dogs.
That's true. To make you work, make us work our fingers to the bones, right?
Yeah. So, okay, well, that's super cool. But I like to get all up in your business when you come sit with me.
Absolutely. Get in my business.
Try to get in your business because, here we go from chaos to calm with our finances. And I like to connect with my guests, with my audience, with real stories, right? Because we're real women and we're real people. Because sometimes I think people get disconnected and think because someone's on a podcast or being interviewed or whatever, that they are not like them, right? And so usually I like to ask, and I ask these questions each time is, basically, can you share like a personal financial challenge or setback that maybe you faced that you have overcome, and some lessons you learned from it that can, really apply to our audience as they are also some are also in transition and going from chaos with their finances to calm.
Oh, I love that question. that's kind of how I got started in financial services, because growing up, my parents taught me nothing about finances. I didn't see money modeled well. I would say I was the youngest of six children, so come from a very, lower socioeconomic background. I didn't know it growing up, of course. But so that led me to getting into debt and not knowing the expense that debt would cost me, a lot of
Mhm.
credit card debt, right? So I even had to get out of college because I racked up credit cards. As you were saying, they were giving you credit cards. You turned 18. I was in college, in junior college at the time. And so I racked up all of this debt, and bill collectors were calling me, and I was just overwhelmed and stressed and crying. And so I went to my dad and I told him. And so, of course, he lectured me and he paid off the bills. We went down to the bank and he paid them off and said, "You better never do that again." Well, I didn't listen to daddy.
You didn't learn your lesson because you're like, Daddy gonna fix it again.
Daddy go fix it again. So, of course, that was a cycle, years and years of getting in debt, getting out of debt, getting in debt, getting out of debt. So I went on doing this for many, many years. And so finally, I think when I just a few years ago, as I like to say, when you said I talked to women over 50, because I always shied away from finances because I was afraid of them. I was like, I don't know anything about money. I don't know how money works. I don't know how the stock market works. They say they're putting my money in the 401k. I'm just going to trust my employer to look out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a good idea. Not, putting your money, your financial future in the hands of someone else.
Right.
So, like I said, a few years ago, I spoke to someone and they just dropped a seed, I would say. And that gave me the empowerment to start looking at my finances and taking more of an active part in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I realized this, my testimony is I realized when I looked at my 401k, it was not looking like the 401k. I am going to need to live that fabulous future that I desire, that I will
Sound
have.
like a 401 can't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? Girl,
The
please, this is
401 can't.
money. What is this gonna do? This won't last you no time.
3 months.
3 months, exactly. Because 100,000 is nothing, right?
Right.
What is that gonna last?
Not when you gotta try to live off of it for 20 years.
For 20 years, exactly. And we're living longer. So I was like, wait a minute, we're living longer. We're being more healthy with all these, like we're talking about with our health and Medicare, the preventative stuff that is available to us now. We're living 80, 90 years old. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, I got educated, and of course, this sparked something within me to help other people, because I knew I wasn't the only woman in her 50s that didn't have enough in their retirement, who had made lots of mistakes, just, didn't take ownership of it, left it to employer, left it to husbands, left it to spouse, left it to someone except yourself. And
Right.
so that's my mission, is, to help other women. And so, as I said, I have, started to learn, started to get information, knowledge, and grow in the financial services space. And now I feel much more confident that I will have a bright, fabulous, fit future. Well, I'll be traveling all across the world and the globe.
I'm coming too.
Yes, you are coming. We're going on lots of trips. Look, my goal is to go somewhere every quarter. That's my goal.
Yes, yes. I love
Every
that. I love
quarter.
that.
So
Well,
yeah,
I love that story of overcoming because you talked a lot about what we talk about here, which is the debt cycle, right? Go
yes,
into
yes,
debt, get out of debt, go into
yes,
debt, get out of
yes,
debt. And it's funny because all those people who call themselves savers are like, well, I saved my money up and I
yes.
don't use debt. Well, you're gonna end up back at zero too, because you're gonna
Fine.
save your money up and you're gonna spend it.
Right.
And the cost is different. There's still a cost. Right?
Exactly.
The cost of debt is whatever that interest rate is amortized over the time it takes you to pay it off. But the cost
Right.
of spending cash only is the amount of money you could have earned if that money had been sitting somewhere earning a modest interest rate. So there's still
Exactly.
a cost.
Right.
So we're not saying one is right and one is wrong, but there is a better way. And in order to find that out, you got to get with me or get with Bonnie, and we'll show you how.
That's
But
right. We learned.
how can we connect with you? How can my audience connect with you? Especially, I know it's open enrollment. You're going to be super busy come October. But if they are in any of the states that you service, because I know you service multiple states,
Yes.
if they want to get connected to find out how they can help either themselves or their loved ones with their Medicare enrollment process, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, you can definitely get in contact with me because, like I said, everyone needs to look at their plan because things change. Things are going to be changing a lot this year. There's a big change coming when it comes to drugs, right? So they're changing. They're going to be on Medicare a lot and stopping the runway cost of drugs. So that's going to be a good thing. But you need to have that plan looked at. You need to be having it reviewed and pick a plan that's going to be best for you. But you can DM me. I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all at the Bonnie Lynn. So you can find me there everywhere, the Bonnie Lynn. Just connect with me and I'll be glad to serve you and your family.
I thought it was Finlex Legacy Solutions. So I put that. I'll fix it.
It's both. It's both.
Okay, you tricked me.
That's my personal brand is the Bonnie Lynn, but yeah, the financial services is Fin Legacy Solutions. So either way, they can find me.
Or you can just come to me because I know how to find her. I got her phone number right here.
I know that girl. I can.
My cell phone. I can find her really easy.
Exactly.
So, and let me know, how can we help you in your community? If there's anything we can do here at Unblocking Your Path to Wealth, we're more than happy to assist and also pour into you as well. So this has been another exciting episode with our guest, Bonnie. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Remember that? You remember that from back in the day? 2 snaps up.
2 snaps. I do.
All right. Well, give me 1 second. I'm going to close this out. Hang back for a second.
Okay.
All right. It's your girl, Saran, here again on a Monday night. Thank you so much for joining us for an informative session with Bonnie Anderson on getting your health right, the essentials of navigating your health and your health care, and when you are Medicare ready. And so why maybe it's for you or maybe it's for your loved ones, but you need to know how it works, what it does, and how you can benefit from it. So remember, this is only the beginning of the empowerment journey. Be sure to go back into the comments and click and join the group for all of our ladies, where we are a community of women helping women with their finances so that you can get a deeper connection and connect with other like-minded women working on their finances. And mark your calendar. Every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. I do go live. And don't forget my special announcement that I started last week, which is I am a co-author, and my first book is coming out on September the 20th at 1:30 p.m. And I would love for you to support. So be sure to get into the community, to like, share, and follow me so that when the link is available to purchase, you can be among the first to receive my new book called Destiny Expose, a book about women and how they became leaders in their communities, their field, and in their families. So I would love for you to support that effort. With that, again, it's your girl Saran. Peace, love, and light. Let's get your money right. I'll see you next week.